Welcome to Olympian Water Testing, giving you the best in water analysis. Today we're looking at HydroVive. Does New York City's tap water have a lead problem? That's a question that a lot of people are asking, and if you live in New York City, you should be asking as well, because we use water for everything, and there's no safe amount of lead, and even worse, you can't detect lead with any of the five senses. So does it have an issue? Well, New York City's tap water provides municipal tap water for more than half of the population of New York. Throughout an impressive network of 19 reservoirs and 3 lakes, even though New York City's tap water is widely recognized in the water industry as the golden standard for urban water providers, it's truly an engineering feat on an imaginable scale. The older infrastructure, pipes, plumbing, and service lines found in New York City itself present a risk of lead contamination once the water reaches the city's distribution system. This lead level risk is higher for older buildings where the pre-1986 plumbing is found, and multi-level complexes in New York City because water accumulates lead when it sits in pipes. So there's different ways that lead can get into water. It can accumulate in older pipes, maybe just sitting there, and service lines can be an issue even in newer buildings. Now, we can actually take a look at the EPA action level right here based on the years, going up to 2021, the samples, and we can see how much concentration has been found in parts per billion. And this is showing aggregated data from city reports from New York City drinking water samples collected from customers' faucets during the years 2007 to 2021, and all years meaningful percentage of the samples tested for lead were above 15 parts per billion by the US EPA, some samples being recorded at the upwards of 400 times that. So I would say, while it might not be a problem everywhere, it still is an issue. And it's important to point out that despite the high lead levels, 2010 was the only year where New York City was in violation of the EPA's lead and copper rule, because it's the only year where more than 10% of samples exceeded 15 parts per billion threshold. So how can you minimize lead exposure if you live in New York City? Allow the water to run at least 2 minutes before collecting the water for consumption, and that allows the water that's sitting in the pipes to be flushed out. Only run the faucet at a moderate rate when collecting water for consumption. Doing so minimizes the amount of lead particulates that can be swept into the water stream. Regularly remove the aerator grid on the faucet to keep lead-containing particles from building up. And never drink or cook using New York City drinking water from a hot water faucet. So those are some good ideas to be safe, but we have to take a look at this chart right here. See, even though there was only 1 year of violation, which we can see is 2010, there are other years that were a little bit worrisome. We can see 2008, 2014, 2016, and we can also see that there's still an issue here. So while it may not be a problem in every area, and while it may get better in some areas or even meet the standards of the EPA, there's no safe amount of lead exposure at all. And it can hurt younger children and babies, which can cause particular problems with in the neurological department or other types of issues such as organ failure or even death. So that being said, it's always a good idea to periodically test your water for any levels of lead.